Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. We're live after all the tech and the dongles are connected. We're here and everyone's listening to us. And I'm excited to introduce the guest today. I have so much to say about him. So much to say. Lecturer, public speaker, radio personality. His voice actually sounds better on a mic than mine does. Producer, technologist, mentor. And I got to say, his video game is solid because he actually has 3 cameras. So if you want to see this, look at it YouTube. We have it on YouTube. Speaks at Dreamforce. He was actually listed as one of the 19 top marketers to follow in 2019. Hello, CMO of VanillaSoft, Darryl Praill. How are you, sir?
Casey, my friend, how are you, lad?
Good. I almost lost myself in your introduction.
That's okay. You know,
So much to it.
there's a lot of it. Remember, you have to have context. I'm a marketer. So you always just should be asking yourself, how much of that is marketing spin and how much of that is substance, right? So that's the question. There you go.
Yeah, well, I'm a little okay with a little of each.
I like it. A good marketer should always have a little bit of each. But yeah, for the most part, everything you've said there is fairly true. So all good.
Well, we talked earlier. No one knows what number out of 19 marketers you are.
No, they didn't tell us that.
They didn't tell
And
you.
as I was telling you when we were in the we did our technology test previously. My one son said, "Yeah, you're probably number 19, Dad. You suck."
Probably.
So
Yeah,
leave it to your kids to keep you humble. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. That's why they're here. So thank you for coming. The theme for today is around marketing leadership, talking to CMOs, getting the sense on strategy, technology, process, even talking a little bit about careers. But how we love to start this thing off is to smash a myth, some bogus strategy you've been hearing. So here you go. I'm actually going to hand you this. This is Thor's hammer.
Thor's hammer.
Yes.
So you get some big gloves there. So I don't know if
handed smash for me some kind of strategy or the marketing misconceptions that kind of just trigger you and drive you bonkers the most.
Okay. The biggest myth I have, and this is directed especially at my sales peers, my sales colleagues, and some management colleagues, all right? Marketing is not about picking the right color, nor is it about producing awesome parties at the trade shows, nor is it about press releases. Those are simple tasks we do in the pursuit of what we're mandated to do. And it drives me bonkers when people generalize and say, you know, we do all this other crap. Well, marketing picks out the colors for the lanyards we're going to wear at our next trade show. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, they spend the money, right?
Yeah. Marketing spends the money. They have no accountability. That kind of goes hand in hand. Marketing doesn't generate revenue. Marketing doesn't have any accountability for revenue. Marketing is just, you know, they're just parties and press releases.
A cost center, right? You just spend the money that we're trying to earn over here.
Exactly. We don't actually understand the product or the service. We don't understand or have any accountability for the revenue.
Right.
We're just, and really, what does marketing do? You know, because I don't get like you can't measure marketing. This is all part and parcel of the role of marketing. That's a myth. Drives me around the bend. And the worst part is when I hear you say that, here's the irony. When I hear you say that, my immediate reaction is, you know what? It's not marketing that you're questioning or should be questioning. It's you. Because if you don't understand the role of marketing, then look in the mirror, sir. You need to understand the bigger picture of how companies work and how all the pieces on the board, when moved in together, sales, marketing, engineering, etc., achieve the mission. It's not just achieved by one individual.
I love that. It was a little intense for people listening. Darryl, you're looking right at me and you're pointing your finger as if I was that sales guy. And I was like, oh dang, I'm out of here.
But it's you.
Yeah, but it's so common that there's that misconception of your, but didn't we earn that in the old days of marketing?
We did. We did. And here's the scoop. Honestly, I'm actually pretty forgiving if I see a 25-year-old I'll use the word kid. Sorry, guys. I'm older than 25. Some 25-year-old kid.
A couple
first job
years.
out of school. Couple years. I have gray hairs. A 25-year-old kid out of school. It's their first job, their first real career job, right? They're not working at McDonald's anymore or Starbucks.
Yeah.
And maybe they're, for example, in a sales role. Right? I'll just use that.
Yep.
And or maybe they're in an accounting role, right? And they're really excited about their career path. I see this often in sales where they're in a sales role and they think, I hear this often. Marketing reports to sales. If it wasn't for us, if it wasn't for sales, marketing would have no money. You guys need to do what we tell you to because we're the ones talking to the customers. And at 25, hey, I get it. You're so wet behind the ears. You just haven't had enough life experiences to figure it all out.
You know nothing.
Yeah. You know nothing, right? And I say that with all respect because I was 25 too, once upon a time.
Yeah. A couple years ago, 2 or 3. And but that actually is not at all the way it goes. That's my myth. If you want to explore that, it's over to you, man. If this is your show. Well, thank you, sir. Well, thank you. Well, so where did this come from? This was historically the case. And so is like the ... from the myth then, well, maybe this used to be the case, but it's not anymore. And I also like that part about if you don't know, it's on you now. So it's kind of like there's a whole different way about doing this. How do you get there, right? So I've bumped into marketers who are the cost center. They've been called the print shop for sales,
Yes, I love that. The print shop.
Can I get another brochure, please?
Yes, because print is so prevalent today in the sales process. But go ahead. Exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what's the fix for that? Or what are you doing that has smashed that myth, essentially?
Easy fix. A couple things. So historically, I actually, in fairness, I get why that might have been the perception once upon a time.
Yeah.
Because we were the print shop, right? And the other part was it was really difficult to correlate, to attribute what marketing did in their program spend to revenue. So I'll use the classic, I'll use a B2C example. I'm a B2B marketer, but I'll use a B2C example because everybody gets it. If you drive down the expressway and you see a billboard or the sign with a Coke ad or a Nike ad or what have you, how can you correlate that expense? That might be $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
How did that one billboard contribute to increase revenues, Mr. Marketer?
Right.
And it's almost impossible to do that.
Really
and so you have a lot of those programs and there goes the myth of, marketing just spends money and we can't actually hold them accountable because we can't measure their impact. In press release days, we used to talk about impressions.
Right.
So, hey, your press release had 100,000 impressions, meaning it appeared in, a variety of publications in newspapers and in business journals, and was potentially seen by 100,000 readers. Again, can you equate that to what did that mean in actual new opportunities? Absolutely not. It's intent.
Right. Fuzzy math.
Fuzzy math. So what's changed? Real simple. 2 things have happened. One, in the pursuit of actually trying to always, engage, I like to say, digital marketing specifically, and all that entails, whether it be search engine marketing, retargeting, personalization, social media, everything online fundamentally. We needed more and more tools. So marketing get tired of waiting historically for the IT department or the chief technology officer to tell them what they can and cannot have for applications, and they took forever to do it. And we just started doing it. We just started saying, I need HubSpot. I need a marketing automation platform. Done. I need a landing page platform like Instapage or Unbounce. Subscribe. I need an email platform, MailChimp, Campaign Monitor. Subscribe. Whatever. We started doing it. And because no one else was doing it, pretty soon we were the ones gluing the pieces together and move forward a couple years. And here we are today. Marketing in 9 out of 10 organizations owns the technology stack, the sales and marketing stack. Okay, so that gets you respect. The role of the CTO, the role of the IT department has been greatly diminished. And suddenly at the executive table, it was the marketer where the rest of the execs would look to and say, what do we need to invest in from technology? Do we need CRM? We need to extend the CRM to do customer success or support. It was marketing. So suddenly we were more than just press releases and trade shows. We were, infrastructure. But then that leads to the second evolution. Because we own the infrastructure, now I can actually measure everything. So when I do a digital ad, an AdWords spend, or a personalization, or a YouTube video, or a live webinar, or a podcast, I can track everything, UTM codes and all the other wonderful stuff, cookies, and I can actually show you exactly how every single spend I make impacts the pipeline. I can attribute say, that $1 million sale, I could $250,000 of that sale is easily, if not a whole million, is from me and what I did. Yes, you closed it, sales, so I'm not taking anything away from you. I just got you a marketing qualified lead. But that would never have happened if I hadn't done these campaigns. And that lead, started from an AdWords spend. They then consumed content piece A, B, and C. They then, checked us out at this trade show. They then signed up for my free trial. All this is marketing. Right. And then after the free trial, or in the free trial, I flipped it over to sales. Away you went. You took it over. So that wouldn't have happened without me. You'd have no sale because you, Mr. Sales Rep, didn't find it. The other thing we saw is a third evolution, which is the buyers getting smarter, and they're requiring sales less and less and less. So in the sales funnel, marketing used to have like the top third. And then a few years ago, it was deemed that, marketing had the top half of the funnel because the buyers are waiting longer and longer to talk to sales. And now the belief is marketing has the top 2/3 of the funnel. And really the buyers don't want to talk to a rep until they're genuinely in almost a negotiation stage. Okay, I've shortlisted you and one other vendor. Now I'll talk to you, and really it's more of a negotiation. Why you over them? Because I've done all my other research, and a lot of that research, whether it's social proof like G2 or Capterra or Google reviews, or social media like a Reddit or a Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, and everything I've consumed has been fed to me or influenced by the marketing organization. So now, combination of we own the stack, we're respected at the executive table, and I can measure every damn penny I spent and show you and prove to you the ROI. The world has changed, and that myth no longer applies.
Smashed.
Done.
Completely smashed. I experienced that. I experienced it almost from that second. I like the evolution, or revolution of these things that are happening, and I didn't even take in consideration the fact that the infrastructure was changing. All I knew is that as a marketer, it was a pain in the freaking butt to put in a request, a JIRA request to get something changed, or somebody else owned the website, so the chances of making changes on that were just it was like dragging. Dragging along. But then as marketing automation and things like that were starting to come over, or even just other tools where I could make my own landing pages and not need you, Mr. Coder, pointing at you, Mr. Coder.
And you're spot on. I don't need the coder because the product's mature. It's WYSIWYG, drag and drop.
Right. And then that just, but I also love the connection of once we had the infrastructure and the budget, people are looking at us like, hey, where do you want to spend that? Let's work together. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, because how it used to be would be like, okay, sales, you need to go hit $1 million this quarter. And sales would turn to marketing and say, well, I might need your help in a couple of things. But really it's sales.
Yeah.
And now they say, okay, we need to make $1 million this quarter. Marketing, what can you do? Sales, what do you need? Right. But we all know for most organizations, it starts with marketing. And look in your own organization. Here's a simple litmus test. What percentage of your leads that are being worked actively in your sales pipeline are inbound generated, which really means the marketing guys, right? They came in from content, from trade shows, from AdWords, from social media. And what percentage are sales generator or outbound, where the sales rep got their own lists and they actually started dialing for dollars or sending emails out or touching people on LinkedIn to generate those leads. And you'll find in most organizations that it is heavily skewed toward inbound, heavily skewed, like 70, 80, 90% inbound. Not every organization, I'm generalizing, but heavily. And that tells you, again, how the power has shifted. And I don't mean this maliciously. I'm not trying to infer it's a power struggle, but it used to be marketing was often the lesser sibling between sales and marketing.
Right.
And now most organizations, they're either equals or actually marketing almost has more power.
Really? Really? Or is
Yeah,
that just wherever you go? You're the most powerful man in the room.
it could be a little bit of truth to that because, in all honesty, I mean, I can be a little much for some people.
Sure.
I fully recognize that. So
I
I
mean, a
would
couple minutes
probably.
in, I've already picked that part
You
up.
figured that out? Yeah, yeah. My wife says I got to work on that. So the chances are I wouldn't be sought out
Mm,
by an employer who viewed marketing as the trade show people. They wouldn't even talk to me because I would overwhelm them or scare them.
that would be awesome to see, though. That
Right.
would be
So
really cool.
I have had a few of those gigs, and in the end, age is a wonderful thing. When I was younger, you go, "Oh, okay, that's my job. Okay, no problem." I remember one of my first really really big gigs, companies, and I moved, changed cities, the whole 9 yards, and I show up, and I'm like 2 weeks into this job. It was a product marketing role,
Okay.
and then the VP my boss pulls me aside, and this guy recruited me. He paid a lot of money to move the family down, and he gave me shit. What it was,
What?
he goes, "You're trying to make leads. That is not your job. If you make a single lead, I will fire you." And I was like, wow, because in his mind, product marketing did not make leads. That was the role of field marketing, and field marketing was owned by the sales organizations.
Oh no.
And
Did
right
you
then I'm
move your
like,
whole family for this position?
yeah, and
Are
that
you
was when I
finding
had
this
this
out
epiphany.
now?
And I'm like, okay. And I would have been
Oh,
28, 29 at the time. And at that point in time, I was like, okay, this ain't going to work. And within 6 months, even though I'd moved there, we agreed to sever our relationship. And I'll give them full marks. He readily acknowledged that he was part of the problem. And so it was a very harmonious split, ironically.
wow.
And I went to another startup company, and that was my first VP of marketing role. And I was 29 years old, and then the beauty of being the head of marketing is that with the right company again, which really has changed versus when I was a first time VP. You really do have the autonomy now to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because the thing is, for the very reason why marketing is being respected, because now we have the stack and now we have data,
Right.
they can also hold you accountable, right?
Yes.
So within 6 to 12 months, if Darryl, you talked a good game in the interview, but now we're watching you and your numbers suck and the leads you're generating are small and they don't convert, and you know what? We like you as a person, but we're firing your story behind, you're out of here. Whereas
Right.
before, when you didn't have that accountability, that metrics, you could hide a little longer. So
Right.
pros and cons, be careful what you wish for.
That's true. I think acknowledging that, as long as you don't suck at what you do, or at least you're constantly optimizing, I'll take the accountability, you know?
Yeah. Well said. I mean, hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say. And I do this with my own employees. I measure them on outcomes, right? So
Right. Right.
I don't measure them on, I once in a blue moon, I'll simply, because a lot of my employees are remote, I'll Slack them and I'll just say, so what you doing? And I'm not doing that to say, are you at work? Are you doing anything? That's just me just, reaching out to say, hey, we haven't talked in a while. And, I love you, dude. What's up?
Yeah.
Um,
Shaking.
what's shaking? Let's jam,
Yeah.
how's your day going? But for me, it's all about outcomes. Like I'll say, I need, X, Y, and Z done by, these time frames. You good? You can do that? I can do that. Okay. If you're not going to make those time frames, I need to know so we can go to plan B.
Right.
But if I don't hear from you, I'm assuming we're on time. We good?
Right.
We're good. Okay, go. We're all
That,
big boys and girls.
having that sort of results oriented workplace or results oriented marketing, it just makes everything better. It
It's huge.
feels good. And also, I think one of the struggles I had as a marketer early on, before the accountability, was I didn't know not what I was doing, but what kind of impact am I having? If sales doesn't think I have an impact, I'm not even sure I have an impact. I'm just doing activities. I have
Yes.
no idea. And that really
Yes.
blows, because you want to think you're doing something at work, even if it's selling some IT sprocket you don't even understand. You're like, at least I'm contributing. But
Yeah.
if you're not even sure about that, because you're the print shop or your activity, I once had a CEO ask me, how many emails did you send this month? Same kind of thing, but it wasn't on Slack. It was like, hey, how many emails? And it was like, oh, about 1 million. He's like, well, next month, 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, as what's that going to do? I don't know.
Right.
We're not selling shoes. This is technology here. Just going to annoy another 500,000 people, same people over and over again. So it was really, not only was it awesome for me to start doing the accountability and start having ROI. But it was great because it just felt like I was making a difference for the first time in a long time.
I had a CEO just like your CEO, and every time something cool would happen, I'd hear he'd come up to me and he'd be in a wonderful mood and he'd be like, "I smell press release," and I'm like, "Okay, we'll do a press release, sure." But it's like, okay, what are you expecting in this press release, right? But I think he just liked seeing his name in print personally. But
Maybe.
yeah, you nailed it. What I love doing, to your point about what's the impact, is when we close a big deal or a strategic, imperative occurs, whatever that might be. I love figuring out, okay, so that big deal that closed, okay, so it closed for, I don't know, I'm making this up, $1 million. Okay, sure. Where'd the lead come from? And what was the campaign? How many touch points did they have? And then I go back to, maybe again, there was an email, to your point, there's an AdWord, there's an email, there's a webinar, and then and then a trial. Okay, so who did the email, who did the webinar, who did the AdWord? Okay, employee A, employee B, employee C. And go to each of them and say, because of you, we were able to close this deal.
Wow.
If you hadn't done this, and it's just a way of reminding them that you may get caught up in the minutia of doing your task, but your task has a longer implication. And I'm just and I know you intellectually know that, but sometimes you just need to be reminded that you're making a difference.
Right. Especially in marketing. Sales has the gong, right?
They have the gong. We don't have a gong.
Don't have a gong because we'd be constantly hitting it, sales, so they don't understand. Oh, you closed a deal? We brought in 3,000 leads.
Yes.
Gong! Gong, 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 gong.
Yeah, very much so.
We don't tend to celebrate those victories. So that's like a huge, I love that. To hear, hey, Casey, that webinar you did or the email you helped create.
Yeah.
That touched someone who just was that biggest deal you heard sales announcing today. Like,
yeah. And it all started with you. It all started with you, dude. And that's important because it does, it takes the classic line, it takes a village to raise a kid. What's really no different in business. It takes lots of people to work together to actually achieve the end result. And that's why, full circle, that myth about, marketing just picks pretty colors and that's all they do and annoys the living crap out of me. And that, yes, that is a myth.
Done, sir, done.
So we're done. Drop the mic. We're out of here. Is that it?
Let's go get beer.
Let's do it.
Out of here. See you later, people. But since I have you and we don't have beer at the ready.
Yeah, I did notice that, by the way.
Oh, actually, I have 2 over here. I'll just
that's drink it for me. That's good. I like that.
Yours is right.
You're a giver. You're a giver.
You can't reach it. Oh, sorry. Maybe a couple years, couple decades from now, you can energize it over there.
That virtual, yes.
Yeah. Right. Virtual beer just doesn't taste as good. I don't know.
Yeah. I hear you.
First world problems in 20 years.
Yeah.
So here's the question. I think it was 29. Is that when you first became a VP?
It is.
So you've been a VP for a couple years.
A decade or 2.
Do you have, if I would say like a strategy is so important. I think people kind of go into the tactics. Sometimes that's the most attractive. Ooh, tell me about this little feature I could use or this little thing. It's like, do you have an overall approach to marketing? Let's say you came into VanillaSoft or you just, how do you just approach that?
So, every situation is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I used to, when I was a much younger person, here comes my geekiness. I used to play chess professionally. And so professionally, yes.
That means like all of your salaries, like your
No, I didn't know. I said chess is not, there's no money.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're like a world champion.
So what makes you a pro?
You're ranked, you're scored, right? You're playing in real competitions where there's literally rankings going on. It's so different to say than poker, right? You have the poker or the e-games. You have to win and go through.
Not as much money as poker. What
not as much money. I was third in my province or my state, and what it was is on that moment when I got to third, I could have been much more, but I had just had an 8-hour game that ended up in a draw.
Oh, geez.
And what happened was I went into the game, and it was a much younger opponent, and I took them for granted. And before you knew it, like within half an hour, I was looking to get my butt handed to me quite promptly, and you have that like, oh sugar, I actually got to pay attention now,
Yeah.
because you get into the rhythm of just going autopilot, because I had some skills, I had some gifts,
Yep.
and 95 out of 100, I'm going to beat you. Well, they weren't the 95, they were the 5, and it was like, oh my. So then the reason I went 8 hours, because it took me, then I started really trying, but I was deep in the hole, and so it took time, and every move was well thought out, and I was actually really excited after 8 hours to get a draw, because I still got points for that as opposed to losing. But I went back to my hotel, and I'm like, mentally exhausted.
Wow.
And I'm looking at myself, and I'm going, is this what I want to do? Like I'm emotionally, physically, mentally spent. I've sat on my butt all day long.
Right.
And as much as I love the game, this isn't for me. So at that point in time, I just, I literally, I said, I'm done. I'm not going to do competitive anymore, because it's not what I want to do. And that's great. You have that moment, but full circle, I view whatever I do when it comes to marketing as a chessboard.
I love that.
So you look at the chessboard, your king and your queen, and you've got your bishops and your knights and your rooks and your pawns. So some pieces are powerful, some pieces are less powerful. But even the least powerful piece, when moved correctly and put in the right circumstance, can be a very powerful piece. A pawn can become another queen. Wow.
Right.
So, but you got to move all the pieces together in unison. No one piece on its own will ever win you that game. You have to use pieces together. So to me, marketing is the same way. I have to use a combination of, email and website and social, and review sites and, advertising, blah, blah, blah. Now, if I use any one of those pieces on their own, or treat them as if they're on their own, they'll take my money, I'll get some results. But if I use them in concert, if I build upon each other, then suddenly the results magnify exponentially. And so what's a really simple example of that? And I will answer your question about strategy. So a simple,
this is it right here.
well, it isn't, it isn't. This is almost, I haven't answered the big picture, but, a strategy to a tactic. So here, right now, we're doing, a podcast.
Right.
Right? Sounds straightforward. This could be one piece of content.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could do the podcast, and I could do some email and social media promotion. Maybe I know we're pre-recording this, but let's say this was live, or we were live streaming.
Right. Sure.
I could do email and social media to build hype up. Darryl and Casey, go to jam, talk about marketing. What's the biggest myth? Right? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
And you create emotional investment, and Casey's got his camp and Darryl's got his camp, and it's going to be a clash, and everybody's taking sides, and they're sharing it. And don't miss this clash.
Wizard chess.
You got it.
Yeah.
3D chess on Star Trek. Who knows? So, you create those channels to build attendance to this event, which then has a lot of draw. And then we're at this event, we could be having social chats with our audience real time.
Right.
Questions from the audience. And now we're connecting emotionally more so, not just with you and I, but with all the people who are participating. And then after the fact, we can issue, a summary post about how this went. We could, of course, post this podcast, but then we could also identify a half dozen sound clips of you and I jamming in 30 or 60-second clips that was profound. And that becomes content to reuse over the next 6 to 12 months to drive more people back to this registration. And then we give this recording to a kick-ass writer, and the kick-ass writer then writes maybe an ebook about what we talked about.
Yeah, right.
And then they take, all the individual questions that we talked about, and each of those become a blog post, right? And then before you know it, you've taken one piece of content and you've magnified it exponentially and reached, a tenfold population. And your street cred and your reputation has grown, as has your social media clout score or your social selling index on LinkedIn. And now you're deemed more as an influencer because I hung out with the Casey. I hung out with the Casey. I was worthy of hanging. Vice versa. Right? So you see how when you move all the pieces together, all those individual tactics, as opposed to just I'm doing one piece, the podcast, right? It magnifies. So when I look at the strategy of when I approach any kind of, new gig, like when I came at VanillaSoft, it was literally that. It was like, okay, how much money do I have? And what can I do with that money? And I'm all about being guerrilla. If I can do something, if I could spend $10 on it and do like, an A++, quality piece, or I could spend $1 on it and get a B+ or an A.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go the B+ or the A, because now I have $9 more
I like that. Yeah.
that I can spend in other places, right? And now I've just stretched it to go far. When I was with VanillaSoft, we had a couple things we need to do and this will help you understand. I kind of do this at every single company, is I kind of say, okay, what's the category that we play in?
Yep.
Because people always want to categorize you. So they always say, what do you do? They don't ask you, what's your product do? What they're really saying is, what do you, oh, are you a CRM?
Where do you fit?
Where do you fit? In
my brain. Where do
In my brain, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what they're asking you. So the first thing I figure out is, where do we fit?
Right.
All right. And you have two options. Either you're going to fit in a defined category, or you're going to say, screw that. I'm brand spanking new. The world has never seen this before. I'm going to go create my own category. That second half, that's a lot harder, requires a lot more money. You can do it, but it takes a lot of time and money.
Yeah. Probably not that $1.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. So in our case, we said, okay, we're sales engagement. So great. That helps. Because now that I know we're sales engagement, from that one understanding, I can go identify all the influencers in the space. They have reach and following. I can understand all the analysts. I can understand all the journalists. I can understand the competition, so now I can create all my sales value propositions. I can understand all the issues, the features and functions, the pain points that, the people who need a solution in that category are experiencing. So that now defines, just by knowing my category, that defines my messaging, that defines my value propositions, everything else. The next thing I look at is, okay, what's the fastest way for me to create, for lack of a better word, notoriety? In other words, you need to know VanillaSoft. You need to know Darryl Praill. You need to know we are awesome. And I always tell everybody, I don't have to be number one in a category. I don't have to be number two in a category. Number three would be nice. Mm-hmm. But if I'm top 5, I'm in a good spot, because once I'm top 5, then I can slowly inch up to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1.
Right.
But if I'm not even in the conversation, then that's a problem. So the whole point of notoriety is making sure that you're in the conversation. So when the influencers and the analysts and the press are saying things like, well, sales engagement, like vendors A, B, C, and VanillaSoft, well, guess what? They just said my name. And they respect it, and they get following. So now I'm a trusted player, because every single sales cycle starts off with fundamentally, in marketing, whatever I do, I'm trying to appeal to a pain my prospect has. They recognize they have that pain, and they're looking for solutions.
Right. And
I want them to hear VanillaSoft and go, oh, I've heard of them. Even if they don't know what we do, they've heard of us. So therefore, because they've heard of us, we must be legit. We must be trustworthy. And we immediately get shortlisted. And now they start consuming our content, and they sign up, and away we go. So for me, it's about, what's my category? That defines everything I need to do. And then it's like, what's the fastest way for me to create notoriety? So real life story, in the case of VanillaSoft, we've been around since 2005, and no one knew who the hell we were.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. No one knew who the hell we were. And we, 5,000 users and growing. And yet, despite having that audience, no one knows who we are. So, and we were doing so much right. Our social media
marketing a little too vanilla, though.
It is. I know the whole vanilla. I know. I people either love the name, or they kind of go, eh. And that there's no in between. It's very interesting. I've had employees internally say to me, Darryl, please tell me we're changing the name. And I go outside, and I have people saying, I love your name. So it's like, okay, you know what? We're just going to.
Ice cream, baby.
And that's why I say I get every single Google alert for Dairy Queen you can imagine. So there you go. But that's kind of the strategy. It's really, where do I play? Once I know where I play, then I can identify what are the issues, so now I can make my content, my inbound marketing play around all those issues. That also influences my product roadmap, because if I don't have a solution for all those issues, we need to fix that. That also tells me who I need to connect with as an influencer or as an analyst, as a press, and then I need to actually reach out. And then I need to make sure that you guys know who we are. At VanillaSoft's case, because no one knew who we are, one of the things we did right away was we added me on social media, because we're a firm believer that people don't just buy from companies, they buy from people.
Yeah.
So
100%.
while VanillaSoft was already out there and active on social media and had a good following, it's still just a third-party unknown company. There's no relational connection. Whereas now I go, hey, I'm Darryl Praill. I'm with VanillaSoft. Today we're going to talk about podcasts and how awesome Casey is.
Hey.
The music comes in and
Right.
whatnot. People go, wow. And so we went like all in on social. And the reason we went all in on social is because two of my nearest competitors have each raised close to $250 million in venture funding.
I think I know one of them too.
Yes. And I have raised nothing.
Wow.
So
but how do you compete with that?
That's the question, right?
That's the
How
question.
do you compete?
Yeah.
And guess what? On social media, it doesn't matter how much money you raise. I can post anything I want to social media for free. So
I'd love you to challenge one of your competitors to like a sumo wrestling match or something.
I'm there, dude, because I have to lose about 20 or 30 pounds. So right now I am ready to sumo wrestle.
Yeah, just get some bok choy in that diet,
But I have to go. I think I'm going keto. I'm going to give that a go. Everybody raves about keto. Anyway,
do it. I do that.
Yes. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Okay. Well, what I like about that, first of all, simple. I can get my head wrapped around that, especially the first part. Where does it fit in my brain?
Yes.
So true. It's just, and what's funny is the more simple that answer is, the easier it goes for the rest of the conversation. Hey, what do you guys do? Sales enablement. Cool. Gotcha. Or if you don't know about the category, you're going to get educated on that. But if you rattle off some the elevator speech.
Oh, the elevator pitch. Shoot me now.
Yeah. I don't know where that. So no, really, what do you do? I just told you, I don't even know what that was. It's like, but I also see the challenge could be not trying to be everything for everyone. And if you are blurry across categories, then you're not really in anything,
So you're going to love this, because this is, I so love what you're saying.
Yeah.
And if you didn't catch what Casey just said, folks, he was owning what you are and what you aren't. So this is what I say to people. And this is the exact same, because I'm with you, brother. Right. What I'll say is, it's going to get faster and faster. I'll say, do you have a technology stack, like a marketing stack in your house? Well, of course. Yeah, we do. Great. I'm going to guess, tell me if I'm wrong. You've got marketing automation, and then you get CRM. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair statement? Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's what we got. So your marketers create an MQL in the marketing automation platform, and then they pass it over to your sales organization who lives in CRM. So marketing's in marketing, sales is in CRM, right? Yep, that's right. And I said, great. And then you probably have a 2-tier sales team. So when you get that MQL, your sales development reps are going to try to sales qualify the MQL.
Right.
And then they'll pass it over to the account execs or the BDRs, and they're going to actually add it and create the opportunity, add it to the forecast, and they're going to try to close the deal. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, great. So you're normal like everybody else. Guess what? When you do that, stats will say of those MQLs you just created, Mr. Marketer, 48% of your leads never get touched. If they do reach out to them, they only reach out 2 times. And every new lead that comes in, it takes them a day and a half to 2.5 days to call them. Do you suffer from that? Are you happy with how promptly and how frequently your reps are following up the leads that you spent millions of dollars to create? Sure. Oh my gosh, that sucks. You hit my problem, Darryl. That's my issue. Great. I'm in sales engagement. Sales engagement sits between marketing automation and CRM. Marketing makes your MQLs. You create that and you hand that over to the sales development rep who does not live in CRM. They live in sales engagement. Oh. They sales qualify it. Once the sales qualified it, they hand it over to the account exec who lives in CRM. Every team has the product, the platform that's optimized for their purposes.
Oh,
that's where we fit. And then I get really specific. I sell to SMBs. I do not sell to enterprise. Huh. I sell to tech, finance, healthcare, insurance, higher ed. If you're not an SMB, if you're not in that industry, I'm not the right solution for you.
Wow.
And I just put it out there because I don't want to waste my time. I
Right.
don't want to generate a lead in automotive sales.
Right.
And that's not a vertical I support.
Right. For Chrysler.
For Chrysler, exactly, right? So it doesn't do anything for the prospect. In fact, they get frustrated with us.
They do, yeah.
And my sales guys get frustrated with me. This lead is irrelevant. Why do we have this lead, Darryl? You're wasting my time.
Right.
I could have been calling a real lead right now.
Right.
So own who you are. No, not just the category, but who you are, who you sell to, what industries you play in, the market space. Own it, and then just be it.
Own who you are. I really like that. Now it takes cojones to just decide, right? And to say, no, this is us. Was there some internal battles to say, no, well, what about mid-market? Sales will do this too. Well, I would call, they're out of our zone, but I'll call them too. And I'll call these guys too. And I'll call, so it's like, there's that sort of natural tendency to just want to sell to whoever's breathing,
There is, because that means usually you have the smell of desperation in the air. You're probably not hitting your numbers. And that's why they're looking at anything that's got a pulse, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I answer a couple different ways. I'll say, listen, if an enterprise lead comes to me, we have numerous enterprise customers. There's not a problem with our product scaling or solving their problems. That's not a problem at all. So if they come to me, I didn't target them. They came to me, I'll pass it along as long as it's in our verticals. If it's not in our vertical, then that's just a misfit, because, we're designed for those verticals. The verbiage, the labeling, the process, the workflows, everything else it's designed for those verticals. So, but if you're outside of my SMB market, then yeah, I'll pass them on, but I'm not spending marketing dollars to get that. I'm not doing, a spray and pray. I'm going to really be super focused on my campaigns at my target audience, so that those people who I want to know who I am, because I'm spending so much money to get in front of them. Right. And I spray and pray. What I'm really doing is diluting the frequency of how often I'm in front of my sweet spot target market, because now I'm all over the place. I'm in different verticals. I'm in different, revenue size and, company size markets. And so I'm actually doing myself a massive disservice. I'm minimizing the impact. You think you're opening yourself up for a broader opportunity, but all you're really doing is reducing the reach to your sweet spot target market.
There it is. Reducing that. Who are you? Where did you come from?
Yes. Why do I care?
Take us back to little Darryl,
Little Darryl.
I'm really curious, what kind of experiences did you have, in life how did you end up in marketing? Was that always the plan, or, you go to school for computer science? I mean, I did that too, but even before that, did you know?
So no, little Darryl, and a lot of people are gonna mock me right now, and a lot of people are gonna laugh at me, and a lot of people are also gonna go, "That was me." So I'm pretty transparent. Growing up, I was the odd duck out, and I don't mean odd duck, the guy that picks their nose and ate it. I don't mean that. I mean
not that guy. We all
not
know
that guy. No, heaven forbid, I'm not that guy. I was, there's every class has one or two or three individual. Let's call them, I always use the term loners, right? They're not part of the clique, right? They're the outsider, and that was me. Now, part of that was I was apparently gifted. I came home from school one day in grade 1 and get off the school bus and go in. My mom sits me down. She says, I got a call from your principal today. And you're grade 1. So it's at 6 years old, and you're freaking out going, well,
yeah,
principal, because, the principal is godlike when you're 6 years old.
Yeah. He's the one that,
he's the guy. Yeah. You go, exactly. You go to the principal's office and get disciplined. Yeah. And I'm like, what up? And apparently what had been happening, a couple things. So when I was young, I had a stuttering problem. I had 8 years of speech therapy. And if you hear me talk fast now, it's because my stuttering problem was simply a case of my mind was further ahead than my mouth could physically keep up.
With you, 100%. Totally.
Yeah, right? So the head is on paragraph 5, and the mouth's still trying to say the words in paragraph 1, and you stutter. But we didn't know that back then, really, for the most part. In those days, the stuttering was that you were a slow student. Right. So in grade 1, I was, in those days, it's different now. You kind of had the mainstream students, and then you had any one classroom. You'd have the mainstream, you'd have the gifted, and then you'd have the less gifted. Let's call that.
Right.
All right. Because I stuttered, I was in the less gifted. And the reason the principal called my mom was because apparently what I was doing was I was going around and I was when I would do my work, and then I'd go to each of the mainstream and the gifted and help them do their work. And they brought me in and they tested me. And what they wanted to do was they actually called my mom to say, we think Darryl should leave grade 1 and go into grade 3 right now.
Whoa.
And so I was small. I was a bit of a loner, and I guess I was smarter than the average bear. And that is like the worst thing you want to be.
Youngest kid in class too.
You want to be the youngest, smallest kid in class who has no social skills. So I was that guy.
Right.
And that's fine. That is, but what that does as time goes on, and I equate this is relevant because this is how I am today. I'm a successful marketer today because I understand people, I think, for the most part. How did I learn to understand people?
Right.
When you're the loner and you just desperately want to be accepted and not mocked and picked on, you watch them nonstop for years. Why is Danny so popular? Why is Cheryl, so popular? Why is Scott, always, cracking a joke and people are laughing at whatever he says? Why is it I can say something and they disparage me, and then George says the exact same thing and they high five? So I watched that. And then when I got to high school, and so my case, high school started in grade 9, and I think to myself, this is a chance to reinvent myself. And what I didn't understand, life lesson, my first week in, because in high school, you go from I was in school A, now I'm going to high school, which is a roll-up of, like 5 or 6 schools in the district, all in this school. And I'm thinking to myself, I can reinvent myself because these other 5 or 6 schools don't know who I am.
They don't know.
But in fact, what happened was all the cool kids talked to all the cool kids from the other schools, and they compared notes, and my reputation came with me.
Oh,
so
geez.
I was immediately chastised. And that was, I'm like, that's very, you look at depression today and whatnot, you can see where it happens, social, peers, everything else. Fortunately, social media and internet wasn't around back then, so I didn't have that to deal with like people do today.
Oh, yeah, geez.
So, interesting story. When I was playing chess in high school. That was my refuge. I started playing chess in grade 9. Where do you go on your lunch break? You got an hour to kill. I got into the chess club because I was with a bunch of other like individuals.
Right.
And that's how I got good. And then what they started to do is, every day they have your morning announcements, and they would say, oh, the team played basketball last night and we won. Oh, we played football last night and we lost. And then I became the captain of the chess club because nobody else wanted it. So I would submit the chess scores. Oh, and the school chess team, won. They beat so-and-so at a tournament. The other school we hate, leading the way was, Susie, Sally, and Darryl. And so in grade 9, I got a lot of grief that I was on the chess club. And it was right. But week after week, they'd hear I'd win. By grade 10, it changed from, I really didn't get mocked. It would just be, and I think part of this is people mature. So it'd be like, hey, good luck tonight, Darryl.
Oh, wow.
Early grade 11, then it was like, go, Darryl, like go, right?
Really?
Because I was representing the school spirit, right? So they were celebrating, hey, we rock in football, we rock in basketball, we rock in chess. The school, we rock. It was really school pride. And so I became in that area. But I was still a bit of an outcast. But at that moment in time, I'd have enough years, and perhaps it had coincided with my chess. I had enough nominal acceptance that I started being a bit of a smartass, and I would quip. I would have a one-liner, and they started laughing. So, from, let's call it halfway through grade 11 to grade 12, I became accepted, liked. I don't know if I'd say popular, but accepted, liked, and I was no longer the outcast. So a couple of things that I learned along the way. I learned to study people.
Right. I'd
learned to hold to your values. I held to my values. I played chess. I don't care what you think. I'm good at it. The people I play with, I like. This is my posse. So I stuck to my values despite what others might have said. I didn't change to adapt, simply to be accepted.
Right.
Humor. Humor is the universal icebreaker. People will spend time no matter how different you are. You can make me laugh. Humor is wonderful.
Yeah.
So life lessons learned at a young age. I went to school to be a computer science, a computer programmer, because I got into that in high school. I was good at that. You think about it. Well, if you're good at chess and logic and math and everything else, probabilities, you're going to be good at computers. So I did that. And I actually coded for 6 or 7 years. But by year 4,
wow.
yeah. But by year 4,
what languages?
Oh my gosh! I did a lot. I did C. I did COBOL.
Okay, so you're not like on punch cards at this point.
No. I did one time in grade 9 or 10. We first intro to computers course they had, that was punch cards, and we literally had chalk them off, and they'd send them away, and the next week you come back and get your answer. That was
your answer, right? Yeah.
You screwed up. You had an error. I did a lot of relational databases, all that kind of stuff. So. But by year 4, I was getting antsy. So I'd gone from really liking my job to now it's getting like, I'm staring at the screen all day long. Like, shoot me now.
Right.
And so it took me a while to figure out how to get out, where to transition to. And so eventually what I ended up doing was I was really good at one specific piece of database technology. I was really good at it, and I was in demand for it. The problem was that database technology was falling out of fashion.
Which one? What kind of database?
It was a non-relational database. It was a pick-based database.
Jeez.
So, which was very big on the VAX and the VMS, the virtual management systems in the days. And it was a company called Revelation Technologies. So, and it's a freaking powerful, because non-relational gives you actually a lot more flexibility than relational, but it's a lot harder to do joins and unions and all that kind of stuff. So, what I ended up doing was I realized I couldn't leave my coding career because I was in demand. And so what I did was I applied to work at the actual technology vendor. I applied to work at Revelation Technologies.
Oh, cool.
And I thought, because if I go there, everybody knows that product. I'm nobody special now. And so I took a job as a sales engineer. So what that meant was, you'd go into these enterprise accounts and try to sell them on your technology, and they would say, well, we have these problems, we need a tool that can do A, B, and C. Darryl would come in because he knew the product, and he would whip something up and show you, look, we can do exactly what you need.
Right.
All right. And so I became a sales engineer. So I've now left programming, but but I still have to program in my job as a sales engineer, and I have to be able to talk to people.
Into the sales process for sure.
I went through the sales process.
Yeah.
So then they were pivoting, because that was in the day when finally relational versus non-relational had the battle had been fought and relational won.
Right. So
they said, well, you know what? So we're a non-relational database. We need to pivot. And in those days, Lotus Notes was huge. Elbow collaboration. And Lotus Notes, ironically, was a non-relational backend. So they pivoted to take their product to develop Lotus Notes applications, become a Lotus Notes app development environment. And so they said, this is what we're going to do, Darryl. We need somebody who can lead the charge of creating this product for us. And you've already, the technology, the customers like you. So they upgraded me to being a product manager. So now I'm doing, product footprint, product roadmap, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward a few months now, the product's ready to go to market. And they said, okay, well, you've done a great job product management. We have to launch it now. So we're going to make you a product marketer.
Oh.
So now I'm launching the product, right? And so I launched the product. And then my wife and I decided so we're Canadian, and I was working in the States. That's where they were based out of. So we were expecting our first child. After much discernment, we decided we would have our child back in Canada. Okay. So we actually moved to Canada, and I took all my database experience and my product management and product marketing experience, and I actually got a job as a marketing manager at a Canadian database company.
Right. That makes sense.
And so that was when I was finally forever a marketing manager. And then from there, you become a marketing director, then a marketing VP, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So that was how I segued. That was young Darryl, loner, stutterer, not accepted, ostracized, figuring life out, figuring out how people work, being a student of them. figuring out how to connect with people, humor, figuring out what I'm all about. I love technology. I have that, but eventually transitioning into marketing. I had no idea marketing existed when I was a kid or what it included. So the underlying theme for me and my career path has been the love of technology. I coded because I like tech. Selling a sales engineer, tech. Product management, tech. Product marketing, tech. I'm marketing for a tech. If you don't know your product and your technology, you can't market it. I firmly believe that. So that's why I'm not marketing Coca-Cola or Nike. I'm marketing a technology for a technology company. That's my strength.
Right. And you own it. When you shared that story about that, putting the announcements in there that, hey, the chess team defeated, our rivals across the Nashua North High School, or whoever it was. I couldn't help it. That's like marketing, right? It's almost like
it is your promotion, right? It is
in your team.
Yeah.
On that loudspeaker.
Yeah. And even the humor, if I equate it to modern today, what I did in high school to connect on humor is exactly what I do in social media. It's exactly what I do here in podcasts. So all those skills you learn as in your youth, and as you figure out who you are, they're transferable. Follow your. People say follow your passions. I think you have to know who your passions are. I knew I was a student of people. I knew I was a student of people because I desperately wanted to be accepted.
Right. Connection is just so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's me. You now have, I've never shared that story publicly before. You own it.
Oh, man.
There you go.
Well, it's fascinating is that we're all real people, behind the Twitter profile and the cool picture on Mount Rainier or wherever you're at, it's like we're all people and we've had experiences. By the way, pretty sure I would guarantee that we would have hung out in high school because I joined the math team to get a boost to my math grade because I needed it.
So I was like,
help. Let's do it.
Let's do it. That's awesome.
It's always that challenge of smart, or you understand more than what's being presented, but at the same time that socialness as well, and wanting the connection though is almost universal. It
is so true. We all want the same thing, right? We all want to be liked. We all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted. And it's a process to get there. I've raised 2 kids, and they're both young adults now in their early 20s. But I had to go through that all over again with them, except now we have the advent of social media and the internet, cyberbullying and everything else. And, I was grateful that I had my life lessons to pull upon to share with them. But in the end, it was their walk. I wasn't there with them during the day at school. And my one child was far more successful at being accepted than my other child was. Mm-hmm. And, that's the journey we walk. But I do think now that they're both young adults, I think the other child who was less successful actually is far better at picking up on people's nuances because they had to go through that transition, not unlike me. And I'm not trying to generalize them. If you were super popular and right now you're yelling at me through the speaker and I can't hear you, that you understand people, I'm sure you do. I'm totally sure you do. I just think somebody who has been outcast understands people in a different way.
Yeah, I think, to sort of the layer below that is because you've spent more time intentionally looking at what's happening. Whereas if you're in it and it's working, you maybe not analyze what's going on, right?
Yep.
You're just, hey, this is all great. This is all great. But if you're not in it, you're like, but I want to be in it. What are they doing? How so just picking it apart and really thinking about your thinking on that topic.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
You're smart, Casey.
Oh, thanks, sir. Well, last question for you. It's tied to all these things, so it might even be a repeat. But you rose through the ranks. By the way, I love that you tried out different parts in the company, and you had a sampling of all these different roles.
Yeah, I haven't even talked about the fact that I've carried a bag. I've been a salesperson. I've been a VP of sales multiple times.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. Yep.
Which one would you prefer?
Marketing. I'm where I want to be. Yeah, and I can tell you why. By the way, it's very straightforward. It's for me. Again, it goes back to that chess game. Sales is daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Rinse and repeat. There's the quota, hit it. You got it. It's a new day tomorrow, and we start all over again. Shoot me now, please. I got tired of that grind. In marketing, I'm looking quarterly, year, or quarterly, annually or longer. It's a chess game. I'm playing the long game. So the idea that I can, I kind of have more time to move my pieces, combined with I just don't have that constant grind of quota over my head. I still am accountable, as we talked about early on,
right,
for revenue contribution and influence and everything else. I am 100%, but I don't have a quota in revenues in dollars and cents. And so for me, that works better for me.
Right.
So
Right.
there you go.
I see that, and not to alienate sales per se, but it's very much individualized path. You're following a sales process, and you have different people following it, but ideally it's the same process. So I don't want to say it's checkers, but it's not the different pieces altogether as much as it is this rep managing this deal, and can you coach them through this process, as opposed to you have all these different kinds of pieces you're moving around.
You nailed it. Like the sales discipline.
Not that it's easy. I mean, it's not.
It's not easy. It's a bitch. And it's hard. And that's the other thing is rejection. Like, that's another reason why perhaps I gravitate towards marketing. And maybe I'm scarred from my youth, right? Where I was the outcast. So do I want to put myself in a position in sales where I'm being hung up on, ignored, yelled at on a fairly regular basis? Right? No, I dealt with that enough when I was young. Thank you.
Right.
I don't want to do it again. But it takes a real special, gifted personality and mindset. And I have so much respect for my sales colleagues who are good at what they do. Because when you hear them get on a call with somebody, you can sit back and watch. It's like watching a real life drama play out. They ask the script is so powerful,
good, right? Yeah,
it's so good. And you're like, if I'm streaming Netflix, you're like, what's this? How's this character going to react? Right, which is the person on the end of that call, and it's just amazing to watch them work with the prospect, educate the prospect, overcome objections. Get to the root of the issue, understand the influencers, understand what are the roadblocks are, and just solve. That is an amazing gift. And candidly, I have so much time for those people who have that skill. Now, if you're just one of those telemarketers who wants to go and scam me and move on, you view me as a transaction, I don't have time for you.
Totally. You know what? You mentioned that I have seen and heard, even especially when the sales leader gets on the call to support their rep, and you're just like, wow, the words, they so polished.
I know.
You see them, they're like dressed like, you could tell who dresses, oh, you're in sales, clearly.
Yeah.
But then the contrast, if that's like a great drama show or amazing movie in the box office, that brand new rep or the telemarketer you're talking about, it's like watching, Ricky Lake or some, Jerry Springer show. You're like, oh, cringe. No, don't say those things. And but mad respect for them. But I could see why the marketing side just appeals to you.
It works for me. You got it.
The question around that is, any advice? What would you tell yourself at the beginning of your marketing career? Based on what you know now, you always have this
I know the answer to that
journey. But what would you tell?
The answer, and I had this epiphany moment. I just wish I would have had it sooner. The answer I would tell you at the beginning of your career is trust yourself. All right. You're not, and it sounds so whatever, Darryl. No, genuinely, your gut. So you can look at all the data you want to, but learn to listen to your gut. If your gut is telling you this is good or this is bad, I'm not saying you go 100% with your gut. Data has a very strong role, history, and has this worked before, has a very strong role, and your gut can lie to you. So, but don't discount your gut. Your gut is huge. For me, my epiphany moment was that database company I got hired at as my first marketing manager job.
Right.
I was very excited. And the fellow who hired me, wonderful individual, I saw him a handful of times throughout my first year, and that was it. And I got so frustrated after about 3 months in the job with having zero direction and not knowing what to do. And I was this close to quitting. And I had my epiphany moment where I said, and my gut, kind of told me this, that I was good at my job and I needed to stop waiting for him to tell me what to do. And if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get fired on my terms, that I know I did everything possible, and I will walk out of that building with my head held high. So since I got tired of waiting to hear from you and responding to emails and you weren't doing it, screw it. I stopped asking, and I started spending money and doing programs and generating results.
Right.
And because my gut said this, the decisions I made, the programs I did were the right things to do. And at the end of my first year, I'm in my annual review, and my boss says to me, I know I really wasn't available to you. I apologize. You were incredible in that situation. And here's a big freaking fat raise that blew my mind away, right? Because we don't want to let you go. So I had so much respect for him because he was strong enough and self-assured enough to say, I dropped the ball, and I'm telling you, I'm acknowledging to you, I dropped the ball. That's huge. And then he rewarded me for good work. Point being there, my gut told me what to do, and I was at a make or break point in my decision. Your gut plays a role. It could be in your daily basis. Do I use this word or that word in an email? Yada, yada, yada. Do I use this color or that color? Whatever it might be. You should learn to listen to your gut. It is an important input into the decision-making process.
I love that. Love that. Just listen to it. You got your data, and you mentioned, the history, the data, but when your gut says to do something, it told you to be proactive. It told you not to sit there and, well, I didn't get managed, so I didn't do anything, and then I got fired.
Exactly.
You're like, no, okay, I write my own checks here. Let me see what happens.
Right. And my gut said I was good at what I did, and I just needed to trust myself. That's what my gut told me.
Trust yourself.
Right?
Yeah.
So the gut works both ways, though, right? The data may say this is all a good thing. Everything about the data may say this is good. Your gut's saying it doesn't feel right. Mm-hmm. Then there's a good chance you're missing something, and you need to look a little bit deeper.
Oh, I like that. It kind of highlights there's a fact maybe you're not conscious about that maybe you've overlooked.
Right.
Spend a few more minutes just to think about that.
You nailed it. And in the end, you may ignore your gut and do it, and it may be successful. So did that cost you anything? No, it cost you a few extra minutes just to make sure you weren't missing something, right?
Right. Yep.
So in other times, you may look deeper and go, oh my, I didn't have this piece of information. That changes everything. So listen, a gut it's one of many inputs. Listen to your gut. Learn to listen to your gut.
Love that. Love that. Well, where can we find you? Where can we connect with you?
Lots of places, of course. Like every good marketer, I have my website, darrylpraill.com. But candidly, you can find me on Twitter or on LinkedIn. I am there all the time. So you can message me, connect with me. Would love to chat. Especially LinkedIn. I post content nonstop. I'm always having some really exciting times and conversations. I have the good fortune to connect with a lot of really smart individuals and debate with them, not unlike what Casey and I are doing now. Debate, argue. I'm that guy.
I would tune into that. I
yes.
Someone disagreeing with you.
I'm that guy. Yeah, I hate when people say the sky is purple and you have 100 comments and they're going, yeah, preach, right on. I hate that. And I'm the guy. Yeah, I'm the guy that says, well, I'm not convinced it's purple, and here's why. So, if nothing else,
aren't you the party pooper at that point, or is that just what we are?
It can be. You can, and I straddle the line sometimes. So I try to make sure I'm like, respectfully. Here's a different point of view.
Right.
But hey, I could be wrong. Let's debate.
Sure.
And for the most part, people clue in that I'm not trying to be the party pooper. I'm just trying to be the guy that speaks truth.
Speaks truth and being authentic and being yourself. Going with your gut.
I'm not looking, and that probably, so you've got me psychoanalyzing myself. That probably goes back to when I was, where so many other people want to be accepted. Mm-hmm. And so they're jumping onto people and saying, yeah, what you said, hoping to be accepted. I'm a guy who lived so many years with not being accepted that now I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being accepted because there was a time when I wasn't accepted.
Got it.
But I just want to speak truth. That's
a strength, because I look sometimes at, hey, here's the next marketing fizzle thing that everyone needs to buy. And I'm like, really?
Exactly. There was a post the other day, a big social sales influencer. He had a video of a Lamborghini, and he's the CEO of a company. And he's like, in his post, if you bought our product, you too could earn this Lamborghini someday. And he had all these people on, like, pylon, way to go, way to go, way to go. Yeah. Woo. And I went in there and all I said was exactly what you said. I said, really? If I buy your product, you're inferring.
Not just really. I could see just posting really.
No, I did really ? And then just explain it because not everybody picks it up. If I buy your product, you're saying I could earn this Lamborghini.
Oh yeah. Now you got them
stopped. I let it go. And it was interesting because then we had I had a few other people now jump in because I broke the ice saying, yeah, kind of what Darryl says. Yeah, I'm not buying it. And then he had a few of their advocates defending them.
Of course.
That's fine. Somebody had to say it. I was the first one broke the ice. And it was so funny. Literally 9 days later, this influencer writes this long post. And it was all titled, Don't Hate the Haters. And it went on about you're going to have haters and you're adding value. So
more eye roll, man.
Yeah, in their mind, inferring that if you bought my product, you could earn a Lamborghini was adding value. And it was inspiring. That's how they viewed it. And at the very end of the post, okay, he's just talking about haters and, blah, blah, add value, ignore the haters. At the very end of the post, he says, I appreciate you, Darryl Praill.
No,
I'm not kidding you. Yes.
No way.
So we finally met up like 3 weeks later at an industry show. And we sought each other out. It was like, face to face. And he comes to me and goes, hey, Darryl, I'm so-and-so. And I said, oh, I know who you are. And I also know that you appreciate me. And he looked at me right. And then he started laughing. And then he admitted, I tagged you because I wanted to get a reaction from you and start a fight on social. And what I ended up doing was when I saw that was I ignored it. Sometimes certain things are best to let go. He had a total of 3 comments on that, of which one was him responding to one comment. And the third one was some guy saying, actually, opposing opinions is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And so he tried to bait Jerry Springer.
Yep. Tried to bait you. And you probably had a bigger network even than he did.
So that was the thing. I went back. So he had 3 comments. He had 20 likes. And I went back, about 5 days later. I just let it go. And it was painful for me. And I went and looked at every single one of the likes. And they were all second connections. And they were all very junior. And none of them were my connections because they're all seconds, right? And the comments, none. So what was really a real good life lesson, we never stopped learning life, was my connections may not have jumped in for my defense, but nobody commented. So what they chose was not to endorse and encourage it. I'm okay with that. They didn't defend me, but they didn't encourage it because they got to watch for themselves too, right? And I get that in their own street cred. And I thought, isn't that cool? My posse, the people, my community, my tribe, just let that one go. And I'm like, right on. I was so thrilled. Anyway, long story short, I didn't mean to share it. Those are the challenges with social media. You get all kinds, and that's also the fun. So find me there. You'll find me entertaining, hopefully. Would love to debate with you, but do that. LinkedIn, that's the easiest way for me.
I actually sent you a connection because I was going to say is what you don't know is now that you've been on the Hardcore Marketing Show, whoever you may want to tag or whatnot, the Tresh gets involved and maybe we just throw down the gauntlet.
Let's do it. I will do that, and I will promote it, and I'll get my team involved. And we're just going to rumble. It's going to be the Casey Darryl clash, round 2.
Well, not us clashing. I'm saying like slaying people who throw out that eye rolling.
Oh, yes, I like it. You and I together, tag teaming. I like that.
All of your tribe had the good sense not to jump into it and waste their time, but sometimes you just need to.
You got to throw down. I'm liking it, brother. You and I, we're there. We're together.
That's it. I got you. I got your back.
I got you.
All right, shotgun.
I like it.
Awesome. So, thanks again for coming on here.
I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. Cool. Great questions, great conversations. So unique, so different. You really get into the show. You ask questions that make people open up. And what I love about that is I'm a student of people, and you're making that happen. So hats off to you, Casey.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. The caliber of you being here is I don't even say much at all. For someone who likes to talk, and this from your podcast, you don't get the chance to talk very much on. You're always learning and inquiring. So I'm sure it was fun for you to get out here and share some. But yeah, thank you for being
I've got another podcast recording to do in about an hour's time, so I'm just hoping my voice lasts now because you've talked me out.
Go get some energy. You know,
I will get some energy.
Sugar-free Red Bull and
why bother?
Snacks. You know?
Well done, full circle. Wrap this puppy up.
Let's do it, man. Well, thanks again. For everyone else out there, if you learned something on here, and I know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes, and I ran out of paper and I flipped it over to get to the next page and it was already written on. So I know I learned something. If you learned something, share this with someone. Get it to their faces somehow, YouTube, Stitcher, Twitter, whatever, just so they can learn from this too. Really cool. Really cool. Darryl, thank you so much for being here, man.
No problem. Anytime.
All right. It's been a Hardcore Marketing Show. We'll catch you all next time.